And we begin this Sunday morning with breaking news on the war on Iran, with President Trump demanding Iran end the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz by tomorrow night or face new disaster as Operation Epic Fury enters a fourth week. Even with most of Iran's top leadership killed and its military severely degraded, Iran has managed to intimidate oil tankers from moving through the strait with threatening drones, keeping traffic at a standstill and oil prices elevated. The president posted last night that Iran has 48 hours to end the blockade of the strait, or the U.S. will obliterate Iran's power plants. As the war escalates after Iran fired 2 long-range ballistic missiles at the Navy support facilities on the island of Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean on Friday, some 2,500 miles away from Iran. Now, neither missile hit the joint U.S.-British military base, but it still is raising concerns that Iran holds ballistic missiles with the potential to reach much of Europe.
First and foremost, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kakwadash, double elders and elders of GMS we well. Peace, say, taste, and lay IQ with the four quarters, pushing the truth and sincerity. Peace be unto you. Shalom. So, it looks like America grossly underestimated Iran's missile capability because they seem shocked and surprised that they're able to fly a missile that reaches over 2,000 miles. So now it's a little interesting now. And as you can see, Trump is giving them really, I want to say it's about 23 hours from now, Eastern Standard Time exactly, for Iran to open up the Straits of Hormuz. So you got some, hopefully some breaking news is going to be coming within the next 30 hours. Anyways, so much news happens that they'll just say you miss 1 second, you missed a whole century. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now, and keeping your eyes peeled of what's happening. And if they had all these drones and capability, because really what's also the world is looking at how to beat America. You don't think other countries like, all right, let us get a whole bunch of these cheap drones and stuff like that. Let us get some of these missiles that's in the middle of the damn desert, or some silos that's just hidden in the earth, that's just got to remove the cover and just launch it. These other nations, they taking heed to how America is faring in this war. So Iran has also made threats as well. But I'm going to let the rest of this video, play a little bit more of this video.
Meanwhile, the Pentagon finally putting a number on its supplemental defense package, requesting at least $200 billion from Congress to fund ongoing military operations against Iran, as President Trump received some support from allies to secure the Strait of Hormuz, with 20-plus nations signing a pledge to secure the critical waterway, where 20% of the world's oil and gas is supposed to be transported every day. But none of those nations have committed to combat operations or sending naval ships to the region to escort tankers through the strait. The UK said it won't be drawn into a wider war, while Germany stated, quote, "This is not our war." That comment days before Iran's long-range missile traveled to Diego Garcia. The White House is doing everything it can, meanwhile, to reopen the waterway and lower the price of oil, which is now trading just around $100 a barrel, up some 50% since the conflict began 3 weeks ago. As Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told me exclusively on Thursday on Mornings with Maria on Fox Business that the White House would lift sanctions on Iranian oil that is already out at sea, like they did with Russian oil, which is, in fact, exactly what he did this weekend. The U.S. allowing 140 million barrels of oil on tankers at sea to be sold to the global markets.
we had a break the glass plan across the administration and at Treasury. We unsanctioned Russian oil. We knew that there were about 130 million barrels on the water, and we created supply that is beyond the Straits of Hormuz. So we anticipated this. We knew that there could be a temporary, and I want to emphasize temporary, choke point there. And there was 130 million barrels of floating storage. In the coming days, we may unsanction the Iranian oil that's on the water. It's about 140 million barrels. So depending on how you count it, that's 10 days to 2 weeks of supply that the Iranians had been pushing out. That would have all gone to China. In essence, we will be using the Iranian barrels against the Iranians to keep the price down for the next 10 or 14 days as we continue this campaign.
And joining me now is the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Michael Waltz. Ambassador, good to see you. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Good to be with you, Maria. Thanks.
And I want to talk just about what Treasury Secretary Bessent said. This is not a new opening for Iran to sell oil. The maximum pressure campaign is still on. This is related just to those Iranian crude products that have already been loaded on vessels, correct?
No, that's absolutely right, Maria. President Trump's maximum pressure campaign that he put in place his first term, the Biden administration lifted, and he put it back in place within weeks of starting his second term, is absolutely still on. What Secretary Bessent is referring to are the barrels of oil that are already out at sea, are already going to go to Chinese markets. Now they can go to places like India, Bangladesh, or elsewhere. But here's the thing, and this is what the mainstream media keeps missing, is that the sanctions on the banks are also still in place. So we do not anticipate Iran sees any of that money. This is actually, as the secretary said, using their strategy against them. Their entire strategy, because they've been so defeated militarily, is to sow chaos, attack its neighbors, hold the world's energy supplies hostage, or at least attempt to. And this is yet one more step to defeat that strategy, on top of drill, baby, drill here at home, a waiver to the Jones Act, which allows ships to move between ports. We are going to defeat this strategy. It will be temporary on the part of Iran. And at the end of the day, the United States and our global coalition will prevail.
Well, Ambassador, they may have been defeated militarily, but the Iranians have still managed to cause pain for people by holding that choke point, the Strait of Hormuz, hostage. What is the president going to do in 48 hours, which would be Monday night, if they don't open up the strait?
Well, Maria, as the president announced, he will start by attacking and destroying one of Iran's largest power plants. There are gas-fired thermal power plants and other type of plants, and I want to be clear here before there's kind of hand-wringing out in the international community. The IRGC, which we've declared a terrorist organization, along with many European countries, control much of Iran's economy, control its critical infrastructure, and continue to power what's left of its war effort through this control of its critical infrastructure. So the president is not messing around. He stands, unlike his predecessors, he stands by his red lines, and he's not going to allow this genocidal regime to hold the world's energy supplies or economies hostage.
Well, it's very concerning that Iran was able to strike and send these intermediate term missiles all the way to Diego Garcia. I know one of the missiles was destroyed en route, but the other one, even though it didn't hit the military operations there, is obviously telling the world that they have these long-time missiles enough to travel and hit much of Europe. How concerned should we be about that?
Well, it's incredibly significant, Maria, because Iran has been marching towards an ICBM. They've hidden some of that development under a so-called space program. I don't think anybody expects to see any Iranian astronauts on the moon, but that's what they've been hiding their booster production in contravention of sanctions behind for some years. They have developed a reentry capability with these intermediate range missiles, and all you have to do is marry up the two with a nuclear warhead. Thank God President Trump isn't waiting until that happens and then trying to respond to it. He's taking care of the issue now, and he has been clear for many, many years. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and he's going to do everything in his power to stop it. And it's not just the president, Maria. As a UN ambassador, I've cited to the Security Council the 2 decades of Security Council resolutions that countries have voted for around the world to ensure Iran doesn't have a nuke.
Knocking out the power grid of another country, it started by the biggest one. Hey, this would be breaking news if he does that. You know, sound like that's something you already should have considered. Stop the communications of a country, and they're not able to communicate with each other and launch these missiles. Hey man, it's not making sense how they're completely decimated and they're beaten, and yet they can't prevent them from closing the Straits of Hormuz. That's not making any sense. I know it doesn't make sense to anybody else either, because you can't make sense out of it because it's senseless. It makes no sense whatsoever. Iran is not losing like they would have you to believe. Iran took a major blow, as you can see. They lost their Ayatollah. They lost a whole bunch of politicians. But what we're seeing is that their government is not centralized. So knocking down, like the Iraqi deck of cards, that's not going to necessarily help. They'd have killed some very, very high-ranking people in Iran without putting boots under the ground. But yet, their country is still functioning enough to where they can stop the Straits of Hormuz and still allow their tankers to go through. And also, at the same time, they can launch arrows, because that's what they are. Arrows down south of the equator. So then this is interesting, because I can pretty much bet that that's not the only one that they had. Iran is going to be coming, is about to be blitzing pretty soon.
But President Trump isn't just going to send strongly worded letters. When it became clear they were not negotiating in good faith, after he gave diplomacy a chance on multiple occasions, he's taking decisive action before it's too late.
How many more long-range missiles do you believe Iran has?
Well, I don't want to get into any type of classified numbers, but the important part that's also getting missed here is that we are destroying their ability to produce these missiles. We're destroying their industrial base, so that future generations, our kids and grandkids, aren't dealing with this problem like we have been the last 50 years.
Ambassador, there is a report this morning that Pentagon officials have made detailed preparations for deploying U.S. ground forces into Iran. What can you tell us?
Well, Maria, I could tell you that our Pentagon, led by Secretary Hegseth and Chairman Dan Kane, are preparing, they're planning, they provide options of trained, in position and well-equipped soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines to the president for him to take the options as he sees necessary to achieve our objectives. So I would fully expect the Pentagon to be planning for all scenarios. You saw these fake CNN reports that they hadn't planned for the Straits of Hormuz. And I can tell you, as a veteran former soldier, our Central Command, led by Admiral Cooper, has been planning for these scenarios for many, many years.
Yes,
and so we would expect that to happen.
And a Green Beret at that. Ambassador, thank you for your service to this great nation. Good to see you this morning. Thank you. Michael Waltz joining us.
All right, thank you,
We'll
Maria.
keep watching.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany.
Hey, well, you heard it from Mr. Isaiah 19:4 himself. You know, well, that's a secondary source that we have to show, but he's the one that put it out. Basically, about to be striking Iran's power grids. So stay tuned. Our there's more to see. Our salvation is real close. And on that note, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Mashiach HaKudash, double honors to the elders of GMS Ruel. Peace, salutations, and shalom.